This Week in Cybersecurity is sponsored by PCmatic, America's antivirus.
This week in cybersecurity, the world's largest collection of stolen passwords has been uploaded to an infamous crime marketplace where cyber criminals trade credentials like these. A hacker using the name Obamacare has posted a database allegedly containing almost 10 billion unique passwords thought to have been collected from numerous data breaches and hacks spanning several years. What's now being called the Rockyou 2024 compilation contains passwords from another database known as Rockyou 2021. Scott Augenbaum is a retired FBI supervisory special agent, the author of the book, The Secret to Cybersecurity. Scott, welcome to National Report. How does this type of hack even happen?
Well, this is a collection of a lot of different data breaches over the years. And these are big companies. So many times we would hear LinkedIn had a breach, or Hilton, or Facebook, and the list goes on and on. And this is very, very concerning because now these cyber criminals have 10 billion usernames and passwords. And they're belonging to me, you, our family members. And when these data breaches happen, what do they tell us to do? They tell us to change their passwords. But there's a big problem. 66% of the population, according to a lot of reports, are using the same password for multiple platforms. So if they steal one of your social media platforms, there's a good chance they're going to get into your bank account.
Which is terrifying. Absolutely. I know a lot of people do that because it's easier to remember one password, right? But maybe switching it up would help you protect yourself. But staying with this hack in particular, a number of these passwords came from some of America's largest companies here, including LinkedIn, where 164 million records were stolen, Adobe, 153 million stolen, Dropbox, 68 million, and the list goes on. Scott, what do these companies need to do to prevent this from happening?
They need to do a better job. But let's assume they're not going to do a better job because every day we're hearing about this in the news. Bad guys are going to get our passwords. So what do we need to do to stay safe? That's what having a cyber secure mindset is all about. Do not use the same password for your mission critical platforms. Those are platforms that have to do with your banking, your finance, your insurance, your money, or your locations. Use separate passwords, use a passphrase, use a password manager. Secondly, two-factor authentication, a second form of authentication. Because let's say I'm using the same password for LinkedIn as I am my bank account. If I have two-factor authentication set up, the bad guys are not going to get in. And lastly, be aware that if you do all of this, some of the businesses you deal with probably don't. So be on the lookout if you're going to get an email from your CPA, your lawyer, your doctor asking you for something out of the ordinary. Think before you click and think before you act.
Yeah, it's a great reminder. I know it sounds like common sense, but just to be reminded of it is always very helpful. I've also heard of this, Scott, where people maybe have an app in their phone, or even they go to their notes section and they write down the different passwords for different websites as a way to remind themselves. Would you recommend people storing a list of passwords on their phone?
I'm okay with that. Listen, we're going to store it on our notes section. We're going to store it in Google. But if we don't have two-factor authentication set up, the cyber criminal is going to get into your accounts. They're going to get into your Google browser. They're going to get into your iCloud account and read them. Keep them there only if you have two-factor authentication set up, because I know a lot of password managers are a little complicated.
Okay, so again, that two-factor authentication, that means that you try to put in the password and then maybe you're contacted via text message to confirm that it's you, or even a follow-up email. Is that right?
Yes, usually either a text message or an app on your phone, but very important. Now we have to make sure that if we're getting it texted to us on our phone, we have to have two-factor authentication on our cell phone provider, because if you log in there with just a username and password, bad guys are going to read your text. So it's not easy, but it's not impossible. Staying safe is our main purpose.
All right, go the extra mile there to ensure security. Scott Augenbaum, great to see you. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
This Week in Cybersecurity is sponsored by PCmatic.